Some places are built to break a man's spirit. Alcatraz was that kind of place. They called it the Rock, cold and gray in the middle of San Francisco Bay. The water was freezing, the currents deadly, but even in the most hopeless places, hope can take root. On June 11, 1962, Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers did the impossible. They vanished from their cells, slipping out of the most secure prison ever built. It was as if they'd dissolved into the fog. The escape became a legend, a riddle that still haunts us. The legend endures because the ending is still unwritten. Did hope set them free, or did the Bay claim them? There's a will inside every living thing, a will to be free. For a man locked in a concrete box, that will can become a fire. Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers had that fire. They saw the gray walls and steel bars not as an end, but as a puzzle to solve. Their bodies were captive, but their minds were already tunneling out. The mystery of their fate is what makes this story powerful. Because they vanished, they live on in that space between fact and folklore. Did they paddle their raft to Angel Island? Did they disappear into Mexico? We don't know. That not knowing is a kind of magic. This wasn't just about escaping a prison, it was about reclaiming a life. Every night, as others slept, they chipped away at concrete, stitched life vests from raincoats, sculpted faces from soap. They turned scraps into tools of liberation. It was an act of patient rebellion. We picture them on that dark water, the lights of San Francisco twinkling, the cold spray on their faces. Did they feel doubt, or the surge of freedom? Their story haunts us because it speaks to something deep inside us all, the desire to break free. With enough courage and ingenuity, any wall can be brought down. Before it was a movie, Alcatraz was a symbol, the end of the line. The government sent its most notorious criminals there. Silence was enforced. The city was close, but impossibly far. In 1979, Hollywood came calling. Clint Eastwood starred as Frank Morris in Escape from Alcatraz. The film burned the story into our memory, showing the meticulous planning and quiet determination. It turned Frank Morris from a criminal into an anti-hero, a man who refused to be caged. The movie's power was in its detail: spoons, digging, makeshift drills, silent communication. It wasn't about violence, but intellect and patience. The film cemented the escape as a masterpiece of cunning, transforming history into myth. After that, Alcatraz became the stage for the greatest escape story ever told. Tourists came to walk in the footsteps of the escapees, to see the cells and dummy heads. The movie gave the story a face, a voice, and a suspenseful soundtrack. It ensured the question of their survival would never fade. The narrative became a quest for freedom, not just a crime. And in doing so, it made us all root for the men who broke the unbreakable rules of the Rock. The legend grew, and the myth endures. Every great plan needs an architect. For this escape, that mind was Frank Morris. He wasn't imposing, but he had a superior IQ, a thinker who saw weaknesses in the system. Morris devised tools from a spoon and a vacuum cleaner motor. For months, he and the Anglins dug, a millimeter at a time, under nightly music. To fool the guards, Morris created dummy heads, brilliant psychological misdirection. They stitched over 50 raincoats into a raft and life preservers. Frank Morris wasn't just escaping, he was engineering a miracle. That's the legacy of Frank Morris. The dummy heads were more than a clever trick. They were art born from desperation. In the dim light, these men created false life from soap, toothpaste, concrete dust, and real hair. In the dark, with a flashlight, they looked like sleeping men. On the night of the escape, Morris and the Anglins placed them on their pillows, tucked in the blankets, and slipped into the darkness. For hours, guards walked their rounds, shining lights on the dummies, seeing what they expected to see. The dummies weren't just fooling the guards, they were mocking the entire system. The guards were trained to look for trouble, not quiet artistry. The heads represented a rebellion of the mind. Even when you lock a man's body away, you can't imprison his ingenuity. The dummies were a silent message. You were watching, but you never really saw us. When the morning guard discovered the ruse, the illusion shattered. The men weren't there. They hadn't been for hours. The prison's perfect record was broken not by violence, but by a sculpture made of soap. The dummy heads became the most iconic symbol of the escape. They proved the most powerful walls are made of assumption, not concrete. And those are the easiest to pass through if you're clever enough. The escape was a masterpiece of misdirection. The men who weren't there became legends. Their absence was their greatest statement. June 11, 1962. The fog rolled in, muffling the city. The guards settled into routine, but in the utility corridor, 3 men moved silently. After months of planning, this was it. They climbed pipes to the ceiling, careful not to make a sound. On the roof, exposed, they timed their movements with the searchlights, moving from shadow to shadow. They carried their gear raft, life vests, bellows. Down a 50-foot drain pipe, they reached the ground, out of the building, but still on the island. The most dangerous part was yet to come. They made their way to the northeast shore, a blind spot for the guard towers. In the darkness, they inflated their raft, the sound of air and the fear of discovery hanging in the air. The cold water lapped at the shore, their gateway to freedom, or their grave. Sometime after 10 p.m., they pushed their fragile craft into the water and vanished. No one saw them go. No one heard a thing. The escape was a masterpiece of stealth. It wasn't a loud breakout, it was a quiet, calculated departure. They didn't blast their way out, they dissolved into the night. The guards saw nothing, the patrol boats saw nothing. 3 men, who the world tried to forget, slipped away under a blanket of fog. They left behind only empty cells and a legend. The night belonged to the escapees. The official story is simple. They drowned. The FBI concluded Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers perished in the cold, treacherous bay. Their raft and some belongings were found near Angel Island, case closed, but the ghosts of these men refused to rest. Over the years, evidence surfaced. Christmas cards, allegedly from the Anglins, a deathbed confession from their brother, a grainy photo from Brazil. Forensic experts studied the photo. Some say it's likely the Anglin brothers. The raft and belongings found may have been a deliberate red herring. Maybe they planned to paddle to Angel Island, then take a prearranged ride to the mainland. The debate continues. Were the sightings real? Was the photo authentic? Did their family help them stay hidden? We may never know for sure. If they survived, they would be old now, living as free men, always looking over their shoulders. Perhaps that was a price they were willing to pay. The uncertainty is what makes the story timeless. It's not just about escape, it's about survival against all odds. The legend lives on, fueled by questions with no answers. The legacy of the 1962 escape isn't written in history books, it's etched in our imagination. It's in the Clint Eastwood film, in the millions who visit Alcatraz to feel the story. They stand in Frank Morris's cell, staring at the hole in the wall, imagining the courage it took. The escape is more than a historical event. It's a metaphor. It's about the human spirit's refusal to be crushed. Morris and the Anglins were criminals, but their story touches on a universal theme, the longing for freedom. Even in the darkest places, hope can be a tool. Ingenuity can be a weapon. Their story is our story, written on a grander scale. In the end, it doesn't matter if they made it to shore or not. Their victory was in the attempt. They proved Alcatraz was not escape-proof. By vanishing, they became legends. They are the ghosts that haunt the rock, not as spirits of the dead, but as symbols of defiance. Their story is a testament to resilience. You can lock up a man, but you can't cage his mind. The Alcatraz escape will be told as long as people dream of breaking free. Sometimes, the most important journey is the one everyone else says is impossible.